the home of the do-it-yourself trucker. When everything goes wrong, you got a Redneckanize. Well, what's going on there, truckers? Hey, this is Ed with Redneckanize. I want to welcome everybody to another great Redneckanize, all things trucking and then some. You can call in at 516-387-1733 and be part of the conversation. Just hit 1. Want to check everybody out to the website, redneckanize.com. There was a cool thing here on Landline magazine. There was an article, and it was kind of like, a big duh moment because the headline it says self-driving trucks will impact trucking jobs, report says. It's kind of like, don't even need to read it. We're like, yeah, tell me something I didn't know, right? And it was Department of Transportation, and of course they got with the Department of Labor. So it says a study conducted by the U.S. Department of Transportation looking into how self-driving trucks may affect the workforce suggests an uncertain future for truckers. Earlier this year, the U.S. DOT, in partnership with the Department of Labor, the Department of Commerce, and the Department of Health and Human Services, released a report to Congress titled Driving Automation Systems in Long-Haul Trucking and Bus Transit Preliminary Analysis of Potential Workforce Impacts. Essentially, the federal government wants to know what will happen to trucking jobs once self-driving trucks are available. It says specifically, the report looks at the impact of self-driving trucks on the long-haul trucking sector. The report also focuses on Level 4 and 5 automation. Level 4 automation will allow a truck to mostly drive itself, whereas Level 5 technology eliminates the need for a human driver completely. Level 1 and 2 automated technologies are already in trucks, including automatic emergency braking and lane keeping systems. Since Level 1 through 3 automation requires a driver at all times, they are not expected to displace trucking jobs. No, but they will displace truck training because you put those systems in the trucks, and what it does is, hey, you ain't got to worry about paying attention. The truck's going to pay attention for you. You ain't got to worry about being able to control the truck in heavy traffic because the truck's going to stay in the lane, and all that stuff. And a lot of drivers, sometimes you have to spell things out for them. When I remember when cruise control was a big thing in trucks, there was a joke going around where there was this family, they bought an RV, and the salesman told them, they said, what's that say? It says cruise control. What's that mean? He goes, oh, that means that you get up to going 55 miles an hour and you hit that button and it'll stay 55 miles an hour. So they got up down the road, they got it up to 55 miles an hour, they hit that button, it stayed at 55 miles an hour. So they got up, went in the back, started making sandwiches. They didn't even think about the steering. They didn't think that the button would interrupt the steering. Well, there was no steering control. It was just cruise control. They didn't know that. And a lot of technology, drivers just don't understand it. Even myself, sometimes I don't quite get it. My truck I drive is a newer truck, and it's got the lane. It's a lane departure warning system, which means that if the truck drifts into another lane, then there's speakers like stereo speakers up by the driver's ear. And what it'll do is it'll make like a rumbling sound, like the rumble strips. If you go off onto the shoulder and you hit the rumble strips, well, the sound like that. Well, the funny thing is you get going down the road and everything's going great, and you come up to like an on-ramp, and of course the white line disappears because there's a lane coming into you, right? Well, there's nothing out there. There's no problems. You're in the middle of nowhere, and you pass by that on-ramp, and that warning system will go off because according to the camera or the sensor, that white line disappeared. I don't know what it's detecting, but it's detecting that I went out of the lane when I didn't. So, things like that. So it doesn't necessarily, it just warns me. It tells me that, hey, you're out of the lane. But the system has been upgraded to where if that happens so often in an amount of time, then it automatically send a report to the carrier letting them know, hey, this truck left the lane in so many times within so many minutes, and you probably should look at it. And so far they've seen it. They said, hey, it's a malfunction. We fixed it. We're working on tweaking the sensors and all that. So bear with us and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but if I'm out in the middle of nowhere and there's nobody around me, I'm paying attention. I got my mirrors looking and all that stuff. I'm not really worrying about trying to stay in the lane as much as I am, just making sure that there are plenty of things going on. The funny thing is that if you hit sometimes you come up on like a blowout tire and chunks are all over the road. So you kind of just, you might get over into the left lane a little bit and go back in and maybe over to the shoulder to avoid all those different debris that's on the road. and that thing just starts going off crazy, blah, 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 all over the place. And it's funny to me because it's like, that's not what that's there for. But again, it's going to do that, and it irritates the hell out of the drivers. That's all I can tell you. But all we can do is we do our best. And, we talked about steering wheel holders, and we talked about stuff like that. And when you have those different levels of, lane avoidance or collision avoidance or automatic braking, things like that, that might allow the driver to just space out more because, they're saying, oh, it ain't no big deal. The truck will do it, and all that. The one thing that I get irritated about is I'm trying to go through traffic a lot. And of course you try to set the cruise and try to maintain your speed and everything, but you can't really do that in traffic. So the cruise, you turn it off so that you can maintain a speed and avoid, the traffic situations where you're not necessarily bottled up into a crowd, or you're watching out for cars coming on and off the highway and everything. And what it is it's a collision avoidance, which means they don't want you to rear end anybody. So if a vehicle gets too close to my front bumper going down the road, it'll start beeping and flashing, letting me know. And the problem is that when you're trying to be in like a high traffic area and you got cars coming in and off the highway in front of you all the time, that's never going to stop going off. It's always going to go off because they're always going to be cutting in front of you and then getting out of the way and all that. And you try to slow down to let them in so that they can get on and get going. A lot of them aren't even paying attention. They don't know, they don't even realize they're that close to you. It's things like that as truck drivers, if what's going to get boiled down to is the trucks have been going down the road, and the four-wheelers, it's kind of like the four-wheelers are going to be the ones that are going to end up having the accidents because they're going to see the trucks, the drivers, they're not slowing down. They're not changing lanes because they don't want those bells and whistles to start going off. And next thing you know is the driver's not even going to be paying attention. The car is going to keep coming in off the highway, and they're going to, why doesn't that truck get out of the way? Well, that truck's not even paying attention because he's got all these computers around him. He's not even worried about it. So that kind of stuff like that. Says here that according to the report, self-driving trucks will not happen anytime soon. In fact, effects on the labor market will likely take place over a span of several decades. This is somewhat good news for many current truckers, given the average age. The study has the average age of a trucker at 48. However, research from OIDA Foundation puts that number a decade higher at 58. Either way, the report points out that many current drivers will be at or near retirement age within the next decade. Consequently, this natural turnover is expected to reduce the amount of involuntary job losses caused by self-driving trucks. For those who will still be driving, then level 4 and 5 self-driving trucks are available, the situation gets a bit more complicated. To start, new jobs are expected to be created. The report speculates that self-driving trucks will likely lower freight costs and increase productivity, leading to greater economic activity and more jobs in the transportation logistics industries. Department of Labor offers retraining programs to help displaced workers adapt to new technologies and market conditions. Perhaps the biggest issue truckers will face when self-driving trucks replace drivers is finding a job with equivalent pay. About 7% of truckers have a college degree. Truck driving is known to offer a middle-class income for those without a college degree. And that, I can see all that happening. I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a big push for the owner-operators, because even though a lot of the self-driving trucks will be out there, there's still going to be that market for, it's kind of like the rail. There's a lot of these bigger carriers that use the rail system. The problem with the rail system is it's slow. It's slow. It takes a while for the trailer or the freight to end up on the train. The train does not move fast across the country. It makes a lot of stops, or it just takes time to run. By the time it gets, you're talking about, you can be from LA to Dallas in about 24 hours or a little bit more, probably about 24, 28 hours. If you were in a truck, if you put your freight in a big truck and it was on a team run that can run, cross country, you're talking about 24, 28 hours it can be in Dallas. In a train, it's really slow. And I think that's what's going to happen with the autonomous trucks, with self-driving trucks. It's going to be where, there's probably not going to be that many trucks. They're going to say, yeah, you can get it across the country for a cheaper rate, but we're going to put it in an automatic truck which means that it's going to move slower because there's not that many trucks available. So it all depends on that. I can see that happening. I think there's a lot of opportunity for self-driving trucks and truckers to work in conjunction with each other. I just don't know if the companies will invest those opportunities, will invest the time and money for those opportunities. I can see, self-driving truck to, let's say that you're a driver and your truck is capable of staying in the lane and maintaining a speed or whenever. Well, you drive the truck and then you can like maybe log off for 4 or 5 hours, let the truck get down the road. Maybe if it only gets down the road at, 50, 55 miles an hour, it's still going down the road, and you can sleep, and then you wake up and guess what? You left El Paso, you went to bed, and you woke up, and now you're only about an hour and a half to 2 hours outside of San Antonio. I mean, I think a lot of truckers would really like that, because that ride across West Texas is not, it's nothing that we are, proud of at all. It's just like if you were in Denver, you could leave out of Denver going east, and you can go to bed and you wake up and you're almost to Kansas City. That would be something that's really awesome, because that drive across eastern Colorado and Kansas, it just sucks. Okay, it's flat. There's nothing out there. There's not any really good places to stop as far as truck stops, and it's boring. A lot of places like that on 40, a lot of places like that on 80. Probably the worst part about trucking is those long, boring, flat roads where there ain't nothing out there. That's when you got to find a good book, or you got to find some good music to listen to take up the time. And that's when satellite radios are good, because there ain't no radio stations out there, nothing like that. So, not even good cell service sometimes. So stuff like that, It says one job replacement mention is last mile deliveries. However, those trucking jobs often pay less. Finding other jobs with similar median income of nearly $44,000 will prove to be difficult for displaced truckers, the report states. However, the report does not dive into more specialized truck freight like hazmat, overdimensional loads, auto transport, refrigerated, or cross-border. A variety of additional factors such as regulatory requirements and non-driving tasks could slow down job displacement in those areas. Currently, there are between 300,000 to 500,000 long-haul truck drivers, according to the report. Whether or not that number will go up or down or remain stagnant by the time drivers are being replaced by self-driving trucks is unknown. Assuming that widespread adoption of level 4 and 5 is decades away and likely to be a gradual transition, younger drivers can anticipate reduced demand for driving jobs and adjust accordingly. That, combined with retirements and driver turnover, will absorb some involuntary job losses. Look for a more in-depth analysis of the report in a May issue of the Landline magazine. So, I think there's a lot of opportunity for the local deliveries. I think there's a lot of opportunity for, we call them yard dogs now, but that's what's probably going to happen is the autonomous trucks are not going to be able to back into the doors. You're going to need drivers to do that. There's not going to be a lot of, clearly there's probably, I think that once the self-driving trucks start up more, the technologies, they're not even going to be able to drop them in the yard. They're going to have to get off the road, pull off to the side, kind of like those doubles and triples used to do in the toll roads. Somebody pick up the trailer at the toll road or off the side of the highway and go take it to the customer. And there's going to be more and more jobs like that. Now they say pay less. I'm not real sure, especially when you need reliable drivers, you got to pay them, and like in LTL, where you need drivers to be able to not only deliver the freight where it needs to go, but be able to handle it and maneuver in the tight city streets and stuff. Those got to be good drivers, and those got to be reliable drivers and dependable. So, those drivers got to get paid. So things like that and often open up to that. So I think that it's, as far as like not getting paid, I think it all depends on where you're at. If you're in an area where, it might be, I don't know, I'm trying to think of cities, but in Atlanta, you probably get paid really well to drive locally off the highway to deliver the last mile kind of thing. In Miami, probably get paid really well. Chicago, probably get paid really well. Nashville might not get paid as much. There's probably a lot more demand. There's probably a lot less demand for those kinds of drivers in that kind of city when there are more drivers probably looking for that opportunity. Houston might not pay that much because there's a high demand of that. It all depends on the traffic. All depends on the people that live there, what jobs they want to do. San Francisco might have might get paid a good amount of money to do all that. So it all depends. And of course, it all boils down to also that if you do those kind of jobs and you live in those areas, you're going to get paid what the market rate goes in that area. It might not be enough for that area. If you are a truck driver running locally in Seattle, Washington, you're making a lot of money compared to a driver that might be in Dallas, Texas. But are you making a lot of money compared to a driver or to somebody that works in Seattle? I remember when I was just getting out of high school, there were people working at McDonald's in Seattle, making $12, $15 an hour. And that was back in, 1988. So, nowadays they don't even make that much, in the Texas cities, they don't even make that much starting out. So, it all depends on where you're at. But we knew that it was going to be a problem for drivers getting jobs, but we also knew, just like the report says, it was decades away. We can see that. We just, as truck drivers, we can see that the technology is not there. The demand for drivers is still high. The demand for good, reliable drivers is still high. So we can see all that. It's not going to happen for us. So it's boiled down to that, and we're having a good time, just thinking about it and talking about it. So.